Thanks a lot for the introduction. Just raise of hands, how many designers do we have here? Or people come from a design industry? Okay, we got a few. How many developers? Awesome. What a great audience. The thing is that when they first told me to speak today, I was like, awesome, such a great festival and everything. But who are my target audience? And that's like the first thing I ask as a UX designer, right? I mean, thank you for the panel before that, because now you're all expert on UX design. And then they said, it's people from all over the world. I'm like, yeah, cool, internationals. Yeah, I'm used to that. They're like, no, different backgrounds. I'm like, yeah, different international backgrounds. They're like, no, different professional backgrounds. Like, well, that's gonna be difficult. Like when someone asks me, what's your job? And I'm like, UX designer. And they're like, what? What do you mean, what's UX? I'm like, user experience designer. I design UI. I design how the software looks like. They're like, okay, yeah, fine. So I really try to generalize the presentation and hope that out of this you can learn a bit of what we are doing and how you can organize your team in a way so that you can scale with your company. So I asked them also, okay, so what is this conference about or this festival about? And they're like, yeah, it's innovation. Everyone here, like, this is what we have in common, innovation. So I Googled, the first thing we do usually, and it's a new idea or method or the use of new ideas or methods. Thanks, Google. That wasn't great. But innovation can mean something different for each and every one of us, right? For me as a designer, innovation can be coming up with a new experience for the user or a new feature. For a developer, it's probably coming up for a new logic or a new way to program something. And for marketing and sales, maybe coming up with a new strategy to sell something. So for every one of us, we can be innovative, but in different ways. And hopefully this talk can give you an overview of how your little innovative team can grow in a very big innovative company. So a bit about myself. I'm Perihan, also known as Perry. Yes, it is like Perry the Platypus, if you know that character from Disney. I'm a senior product experience designer at Dynatrace and UX Guild Lead. This is where I am from. This is where I grew up, and this is where I am living. So I am originally Egyptian, and I grew up in Dubai before it was famous. And have been eating schnitzel in Austria for 6 years now. And I've been with Dynatrace for 4 years. And as you can see everywhere, you see Dynatrace, 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 Dynatrace. So if you want to know about the product and what Dynatrace does in detail, we have an amazing crew at Stadthalle that can really give you a demo of what the product is about. I'm not the best for that, but they are way better than me. So I'll let you go to them after this talk, though. But what you need to know is that it's a really big IT company, and the majority of people there are developers. And when I first started in 2018, we were 10 designers and 600 developers. Now you might think, oh my God, such a ratio in there. And today we are 30 designers, but the developers did not stop here, and they have become more than 1,000 developers in there. So even though we are growing rapidly, they are growing way faster than us. And within this year, we are planning to even double up. So we're planning to become 60 designers, hopefully. So yeah, it is a challenge in here because in such a short period of time, we had to go through a very big organizational adaptation. And if you look online and you Google, okay, what are the different terms out there? We have centralized and decentralized. So what is centralized? And this is really can be on each and every team, whether you're coming from marketing, engineering, whatever you are, you can still have a very centralized team or a decentralized one. But for these examples, I will use design. So that means basically your team sitting in one room together, and they are supporting different product teams. Sometimes we used to have more than one project at a time, so I could be working with 2 product teams, but that was still okay. However, when the company grows, you need to change that. But first, what are the different pros and cons of a centralized system? Pros are you have a very good team culture. In our case, we had a stand-up song. So whenever it plays, we all just stand up and say what we did yesterday and today. And I promise myself I will not sing it today because I did that before. And yeah, I don't want to lose you guys. And the other thing was focus on the future because we wanted really to know how is the design of the product going to go within 2 years. We weren't very focusing on today's features and tomorrow's feature. The third thing is consistency. Obviously, if I am sitting next to my fellow designer and I'm having a sneak peek of what they're working on, I will have a bit of a consistent design because I can totally spot, oh yeah, you're working on this feature because my team is working on it too. And I wanted to see like what kind of components you're using in there. Then we have on the con side, though, 2 things. The main thing is feature prioritization, because obviously you're so far away from the product team that every PM, product manager, just comes to you and tells you, my feature is the most important one. No, my feature is the most important one. So you believe all of them because you're so far away from the product. And the last thing is having no connection to the team you're actually working with. So as a designer, I just design within my own room and then I send off my design and then someone develops it. But I don't have a day-to-day connection with the developer who's actually developing my work. So I'm completely losing that connection. And then with the scaling, you may go to something else that's called the decentralized, which I mentioned before, where you embed your designers within those product teams. Some people know it as squads. I'm not sure, where you have one role of every team. Basically, you have a product manager, you might have 2 developers and 1 designer, and they're all sitting together in one room. And you do that for every product part. The pros there are you have a very fast reaction to the requests that are coming, so the feature requests, because you are in their planning, you are in their reviews, so you get to plan together, have an aligned goal, which is one of the pros in there. You also have a very good involvement and effect on the designs and developments that are being in there because the developer just comes sit next to you and tell you, hey, I had an issue in there. What do you think we can do? Or this is very expensive. What do you think we can fix, basically? Because yes, as designers, we are very creative and we can go abroad and make things very fancy and add animations everywhere. But actually, how expensive is that to develop? And sitting within a development team really teaches you what is doable and what's not doable early enough in the project so that you don't have to change it later on and iterate on it. The cons, though, you do lose the stand-up song. So you don't really have that within your dev teams. You lose the connection with the community of designers that you have. You get to have a bit of consistency problems because you're focusing on your product parts and you're focusing on your day-to-day focus, right? It's like with every planning, you have these specific tasks that you're doing, but you don't really ask, okay, what do I have in 5 sprints or in, I don't know, like 5 weeks? So then it gets a bit difficult. And in Dynatrace, we have a very strong UX culture. So really, the team shares, it's basically family. And I'm not saying that because I'm part of it, but as a foreigner, when I came in, it really helped me a lot having those people around me. And it was hard for me being in a very decentralized system. So we really wanted to keep that. So what we did is we tried to have the best of both worlds and mix it. So we looked at what are the pros in there and what are the pros in the other one and tried to have something in here. We've created something called DXO, which is the Design Experience Operations. It's like the Iron Man heart in here. It flares the support. And there we have people operations. So my lead, for example, we have a design language, and it's not design system. It's more of like the look and feel of the whole product. So when someone goes in, they feel like, okay, this does belong together. And we have shared resources, things like content design, so how things are written, things that all teams need. And we have split the designers according to product parts. And you can think of it like when you go to, who here uses Amazon? I definitely do. Like you can see it on my bank account. Okay, so you go to Amazon.com, but it can give you so many other options. You can reach Audible in there, Amazon Music, Prime Videos. But I promise you, there are different design teams for each one. These are different product parts. However, it still feels like the same product, right? And that's what the design language is. And those product parts, since they have different kind of designers or mini teams somehow, they have even domains because we don't work in isolation. So maybe on Amazon Prime, so Prime Videos, you have settings. And settings has its own development team. So what you want is you want to allocate one designer according to the needs of the settings team within that area, basically within that domain. However, have a very, very strong connection to DxO, so they have this endless support and feedback basically from them. In a nutshell, your teams will be organized by customer experience. You'll have a very good holistic view of what's going on. And your product design will be consistent because of the whole design language thing in the DxO. And you have a very good still connection with the product teams because you can do team events with them. You're not like the alien anymore that's coming out of nowhere since you're sitting together in one room. And you have autonomy with support. You don't have a team lead, like a design team lead anymore. You're like this specialist in your product team, and you do take decisions for yourself, however, with a lot of support when you need it. If you need a researcher, if you need someone with content design, if you need like one-on-ones, all of these things are coming back from DxO. Now that you have someone from your team sitting within the product parts, what are the rules, right? How do you, like, imagine all of a sudden you have 9 developers with their team, with their PM, and then all of a sudden 9 developers with their PM, and then all of a sudden you put a designer in there, and you're like, okay, go ahead, be part of that team. There needs to be a bit of rules. And the first thing I can tell you is you create your own rules, kind of. Like, you look at what your team needs and you start creating things. I can give you some tips and tricks because, like, you can imagine myself 4 years ago going into a team and thinking life is perfect and everyone knows what UX is about. Like I was perceived like, oh, this cute girl just coming in telling us what to do and what not to do. Why will we ever listen to her? So there are a few things after those 4 years that I tried to sum up in a few slides. The first thing is just keep calm and try to understand the roles around you. Because if you take things on your heart and personally, you might get really offended. But try to understand the roles, like, okay, what is the goal of a PM? What do they want at the end of the day? What is a role of a developer? What is a role of a salesperson? And once you understand what they are doing and what their goals are, you can start communicating in a different way. The other thing is find your bestie. I'm a big 9-9 fan, so you might see that. Find your bestie as in find the role that completes you. In my case, it was the developers. Honestly, like, I learned a lot from them and they did learn a lot from UX. So just sitting together and completing our product and sharing the goals is like, we became best friends all over. So, I mean, I had 9 best friends at the end, but still, it was a way to communicate things. Once you create your bestie, you need to increase awareness, right? At the end of the day, you're 30 designers and 1,000 and something developers. So why would they even know about what UX is? So it's your job to actually do some onboarding, and it doesn't have to be dramatic. It's just a few slides. Hey, I'm Perry, I'm a UX designer, and this is what UX is. For example, these are the patterns. You can find the design system here. If you have questions, you can come and ask me. And this is something you have to repeat a lot, right? Because it's not from the first day that people will feel comfortable enough to just like come and ask you. And then communication. How many times were there like some miscommunications because we're speaking 2 completely different languages in there? And it doesn't hurt to learn about what kind of language the other person speaks. For me, it meant learning a bit of HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript just to understand, or like going on the inspect mode in Google just to know how, on Chrome, just to know how things are kind of separated. For them, it meant using design tools to inspect and see what the components are, how I think, what is the color palette, just even like understanding these terms so that when we're speaking together, we kind of communicate well and avoid any misunderstandings. And then empowerment and involvement. We've heard in the panel a lot of things about user testing, but a lot of the times designers go and do the user test and then come up with a summary and be like, hey, these are the results, so we need to change this and that. But I cannot tell you how much of a difference it actually does to have a PM or a developer with you in the user test. Their eyes just flare, like, oh my God, I did not expect this to actually happen. And it's way easier to just come up with this than writing the summary and giving it. I mean, I still have to write the summary, but anyway, but it's just way easier to just have them there to see it with their own eyes and learn from it. And they end up even asking questions like, okay, so why didn't you really find the cart in there? Didn't you really expect this to auto-save? Did you need to have a confirmation that we just deleted your file? Things like that, even things that are common sense for us, they see it with their own eyes. And then silos. Of course, with our day-to-day focus, you might end up feeling very detached from your community, let's just say. In my case, it would be the UX community, especially if you're one designer or two in one team. So I really advise you to get back and have feedback, right? See what people are thinking of your designs, but people from the same professional background as you. And pair working, of course, like don't be afraid to ask for help. And if it's like something that's very complicated, to ask one of your colleagues, hey, can we pair design and have a workshop on that? Last but not least, laziness. So, or also called demotivation, because why would I? Like, why would I care? And here I say incentives. Just knowing someone on a personal level, creating things like cake day, even though I cannot bake, or beer Friday, or I don't know, some challenges in the team who had the best implementation of the design this week. Things like that really motivate people to be part of the team and see you not as an alien, but rather like someone who actually is involved and can collaborate with. But then again, even if we do become 60 designers, we still cannot support each and every team and have people who just enter the company know about what we're doing. And here we have created something called the UX Enablement Guild. And you might have heard about what guild is. So, but in our case, we changed the concept a bit. Here we have a goal of equipping everyone in the organization with a UX-aware mindset. How do we do that? We went to every single team in Dynatrace and pitched our idea. We collected 1 to 2 people out of this team, and then we sent them invitations to workshops, an enablement topic. We would have a designer that would present an enablement topic to the crowd. So something like, what is information architecture? What are our patterns? When to hide things versus when to disable things? What is typography? How can you write warning messages? So things like that, that maybe you do not need specifically a dedicated UX designer for this, but rather can be enabled to actually do it by yourself, or at least be aware when there is a problem. A lot of the times there is something on the screens that I can spot in a second, okay, this is a problem, but the one who developed it does not even realize that there's a problem in there. And being aware of this really helps and makes the process so much faster. However, of course, as we all know, COVID hit us. Yeah. Just when we started becoming famous, just COVID hit us. And yeah, we had to stop actually, because we were based in Linz, where our headquarters is. We were collecting people from there. It was really awesome just collaborating with everyone on site. But then actually, thanks to Miro on Zoom, we were able to reach people globally. We tripled in size in this. So we were reaching people in Gdansk, Barcelona, Detroit, endless labs of Dynatrace we were able to reach in there. And we were able to do the workshops in Miro. And today, some of them even come to Linz to be part of those workshops because they're like once a month. And yeah, it did open up a lot of opportunities in there to actually go remotely. However, the struggles will things like getting everyone motivated because it's voluntarily, or planning and organizing this, or coming up with new topics like why would someone spend 2 hours of their sprint to actually be part of this, and growing and getting enough support. What I could advise you there is to really sell a value. So actually tell people, okay, come in here to watch a presentation. No, but what value am I actually going to get out of this when you are here? How much support am I going to get from UX designers compared to all the other teams that cannot get any support at all? Create a brand. So we have some t-shirts in here. So we created like some logos, a brand. We put it up on all screens in the company so people would know, that's a UX skill. People were saying UX in a company that had no UX before. And that was already an achievement for us. People wanted t-shirts. They were wearing it in the canteen and cafeteria. That already raises a lot of awareness. And then play way ahead of time because planning is very important in people's calendars. I had to learn it the hard way, even though it's very common sense, but you cannot just send invites like a week before. And use your research skills. So find out who in your company does research, collects data to understand what topics are people interested in. Last but not least, ask for support when you need it. Because I thought I can do it all by myself until actually I realized I can't. And then I had to have helping buddies. I had to ask my team, hey, can you come in and do the presentations with me? Like today, when I asked for support and I had an amazing crew that was able to help me out. Honestly, like the 15 seconds crew, like is one of the nicest crew that I was able to plan with. The crew from Dynatrace, they do deserve an applause. So it is the last day right now. So yeah, let's remember the value that we're really trying to bring the planners together, the teams together, because we are all innovative at the end of the day, but it's all about creating an innovative product together. So it's no one is bad or good. It's just really about finding the right way to communicate. And yeah, since we are doubling up, feel free to check out our careers. We have 30 open positions for designers. Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone. Make sure you check out the Stadthalle place. So yeah, thank you.